Hello, welcome to the Reno method. My name is Joao Reno, and I created this method as a way to help international leaders, executives, engineers, founders who speak English as a second language and live in the United States, or at least work in a predominantly English environment, English speaking environment, to help them master the art of English communication and executive presence, authority, and so forth. I am a speaker of English as a second language, just like you. I am not naturally bilingual. What does that mean? I didn't grow up in the United States. I became bilingual through sheer effort, just like you. So throughout my journey, I was able to understand exactly what makes someone become proficient in the language besides the regular study, grammar, sit down. This is very important, of course, knowing grammar, studying grammar is important. But at some point, grammar is not enough to get you to become articulate, eloquent, and to have the pronunciation that is considered standard American pronunciation, meaning the pronunciation that people will struggle the least to understand. We all have our accents. I still have my accent, but I was able to better understand what makes something sound smooth to the ears of a native speaker. And that mostly has to do with intonation. That's one of the main topics of my method. I also understood that English is a numbers game, meaning you need to practice, you need to speak as much as you can, and you need to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. So, that is also something that I help my clients deal with to put themselves in uncomfortable situations and understand that rejection, judgment, this has nothing to do with their self-worth, with who they are. It's just a natural aspect of human life. People judge each other, people, sometimes they're expecting something and then they hear something different and they might make some assumptions based on that. And that's okay. This is just normal because you also make assumptions on other people based on what they're wearing, the way they speak, words they use, etc. So I help my clients navigate these, let's say, these difficulties that can arise in on anybody's journey towards becoming a more fluent speaker of English. Now, you may ask me, why do you only help leaders and executives and this and that? Well, throughout my career and my journey, I found that working with highly driven professionals, high achievers, and so forth, is usually yields better results because high achieving professionals, driven professionals, they are more willing to take action, to put themselves in uncomfortable situations, to go towards their goal. They usually do very well with systems because they already have their own systems in place. So that does not mean that I only work with those professionals. I also work with people who might not consider themselves to be a an international leader or someone who's not an executive or not an engineer. Of course, I'm always open to having a call, to getting to know you. And if I feel that you have the drive and the desire and the ambition to become a good, an excellent, an awesome English speaker and to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, of course I work with you. The thing is, I feel that many times, very often, regular folks, they say that they want to improve their English, they want to become more fluent in this and that, but they're not willing to do the work that it takes. It is a lot of work. It is challenging. And the thing about high achievers and driven professionals is that they love challenges. So that's why for me, it's more fun and it's more productive to work with these professionals. But I'm actually open to work with anyone that that shows to be someone who really wants to make a difference, who really wants to make some improvement. So yes, this is the Reno method. What is my story? I I started speaking English more or less at the age of 16 when I was an exchange student. I came to the United States as an exchange student. I didn't speak the language at all. And for the first month, it was really hard for me to understand people and for people to understand me. But then I became obsessed with the accent, and that's how I developed my accent. skills and so forth. Then I went back to Brazil. Like I said, I didn't grow up in the United States. I didn't live in the United States for a long time until just recently. So when I went back to Brazil, I started teaching English in regular English schools, private courses. Then a few years later, I became an interpreter, simultaneous translation. I did that for about 15 years. And then after that, I was able to pass an entrance exam to become a federal worker at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Brazil, meaning I became a diplomatic officer. But the position that I took, we call it Chancery Officer. It means that I can be posted in different embassies and consulates to work at the consular section and some other sections. And I was posted in Malaysia as as one of the vice consuls of Brazil. And then I was posted in Los Angeles also as a vice consul. So I did that for 15 years. And then in Los Angeles last year, I decided to take a break, to quit that job, and to dedicate myself to this because I've always wanted to make a bigger impact. I knew I had a special skill and I wanted to learn how to sell it, how to market it, which is a whole different set of skills to sell something, to market something. It's been pretty challenging, but here I am offering my services to you, the Reno method. This is a place where we're here to talk about the language, to talk about the challenges, to improve, to learn, but most importantly than to learn, to find out what really makes someone improve their language, what really makes someone speak English with more authority, with more presence. I also have 4 years of public speaking training, so I use those skills as well on my students, on my clients, how to deal with filler words, how to deal with pauses, with silence, because sometimes, for example, one of the most common hurdles that my clients face is that they can be very uncomfortable with silence. And let me tell you something, silence is your ally. Silence can increase your authority and your presence like nothing else, and many other things. So, welcome to the Reno method. I hope you enjoy what I post here. I'm going to try to be as consistent as possible. And thanks for visiting.